fans, welcome to Virtual Japan as we are here today for round number 6.
Oh, Pearson gets into the 95 of Bolts. Here comes the caution.
Flag is dropped here at Daytona and away. Go for the first time, Nicholas Morcel, Sean.
Looks like most get through unscathed. Look at that, there's Reed Gibson. A big move at the inside line of Dom's, possibly a little bit of contact.
Now as we've got 3 wide action going through turns 1 and 2.
And they're underway. Eric Hahn takes a nice jump. Wilson hasn't let it go very far.
Nice to go out here for Circuit Spa Francorchamps. Alex Johnson's off to a brilliant start there.
Just how oddly shaped this one is. We saw in the background Eric Hahn go for a bit of a swing, and he's gone and he's over.
New stuff. Cody Graham is the one-on-one up into second place. Alex Johnson 6/10 lead at the moment.
Dicey up front. There's Andrew Kessel, Justin Sang.
They are ready to go. The lights are out and away we go for the very first time here at Yokohama International Circuit. Finley Fitzsimmons.
Good evening, race fans, and welcome back to the Just Two Idiots Cup Series. My name is Mason Heimbaugh with Team Goon Squad, bringing you the action here today, 1440p, 60 frames a second, as we gear up for round number 2 of the J2Y Sprint Series. Folks, it's going to be a lot of exciting action here at the Barcelona, well, Circuit de Barcelona Catalunya is how it's normally called. But folks, it is going to be a lot of action-packed racing here today. As you might be able to tell already, it is a little bit slippery out there. You can already see the spray coming up from the tires of these drivers making their way around the track as they complete qualifying here today. There's a little bit under just about 4 minutes left before we see qualifying completely finish. But folks, I gotta tell you, this is going to be my first race back. Well, I shouldn't say back. This is going to be my first race since coming back to broadcasting that I have been able to experience what iRacing has implemented as their version of wet weather racing. Now, if any of you following this or watching this has any experience with iRacing or has any knowledge with what iRacing has been doing with the wet weather racing, all of the things that they have put into their software to make this possible, they've done a lot, to say the least. There is a lot of things that they have done to make this as quote-unquote realistic as possible. It's as close as they can possibly muster. Obviously, there's going to be things that they're going to change, develop, improve over time, but this will be my first experience with their technology that they have introduced for wet weather racing, and I'm personally excited. Enough of that. Let's actually get into some of the drivers' lap times here today, and let's actually give you a proper time here. So, left-hand side of your screens, you can see the drivers' best times as they currently stand. Donovan coming across the line just a short time ago and setting a pole position. Now, Donovan is a driver who I remember from about 2 seasons ago. It's been a little while, but Donovan is definitely a very, very good sight to see up here at the very tippy top of pole, and looking to make a name for himself here today. Donovan, to my knowledge, past couple seasons, I mean, we kind of saw him maybe towards the mid-pack, maybe a little beyond, but he has definitely taken the time to improve and is definitely making that known here today, especially in the wet weather conditions, given really just the slickness of the track here at the moment. There's going to be a lot of points around the track, and you can kind of, the thing I love about iRacing implementation of this so far is that you can see where the track is a little bit drier, where it's more wet, where it has puddles forming, so on and so forth. It is very, very helpful in that regard, as far as not being more so a visual representation of a track being wet, but rather a accurate, as much as possible, representation of what it would and could look like during a wet weather situation. So overall, I'm very impressed with what I'm seeing so far, and I'm sure that over time iRacing will continue to improve that technology as we move forward. But Urko sitting in that second place position at the time with a 148.832, 0.2 of a second behind Nodovan at this moment, and having a little bit of lap traffic from the 42 machine. I believe that was the 40, yes, Biker Pilot. Yeah, it looks like he's going to cancel that lap and take it on back down into pit road as we wrap up qualifying and get ready to go into our race event here today. So folks, with that being said, let's take a look at our starting grid for the race here today. Nodovan and Urko up in the front row. Nodovan, very impressive time here with a 148.617, 0.2 ahead of his second place counterpart here in the front row. Second row is DC and Eat My Dust, followed by third row Joshua Spears and Black Bob Wallace. Fourth row we have Prince Adam and Gavin Ammerman, followed by Brandon Crutchen and Dutch. Sixth row we have Cat Daddy and Squilliam moving on down the grid. Bozak and Ryan Schwab taking up the seventh row. Biker Pilot Joe Albanese in the eighth row. 976 James McKinney taking up the ninth row. Sneezy Jr. and Remote Crawdad in the 10th row, followed by David. Is he? Izzy? We'll figure that out later, David. We'll talk. Anyway, moving on. That is our starting lineup for today's race, and let's take a look at how this is going to form. Oops, that is a horrible camera angle. So, here we go. Nodovan, Urko, both at the front line here. Lights go out, and away we go. The second line having a much better start. Urko looking to try and keep up with his teammate DC. DC gets a great jump on the rest of the field, trying to work his way to the inside of Nodovan as they work their way into turn one. DC to the inside. Nodovan out on the outside, able to keep up a great amount of momentum. Nodovan going to keep his first place position. DC staying in second. Eat My Dust going to stay in that third place position. The rest of the field behind them going to work out their positions single file for the time being. Black Bob Wallace in the 666 machine going to have a little bit of a fight with Prince Adam there in the 777. Kind of ironic that they are fighting it out with, well, a one number difference, if you could say, as far as their racing numbers. It's almost like it's destined to be. Anyway, Prince Adam, Black Bob Wallace are going to continue their fight for that sixth place position. Nodovan going to try and extend his lead almost up to a full second here, as Cat Daddy going to find himself out in the sand. Biker Pilot as well, as we have, oh, Nelly. What in the world? 976 ending up on the top side. I'm not even sure who that was he was on top of, but that was a wild ride. As we're gonna turn on some information for you folks in the timing tower. It looks like, nope, they're, see, I believe there is a caution. Perhaps not. We are still green flag racing. You know, sometimes it throws me off a little bit with how the field kind of reacts to things, that it makes me think that a flag has been thrown, but I should just ignore that. Anyway, Urko, eat my dust. Side by side, heading into turn 1. Eat my dust, going to take the inside line advantage, moving up into 3rd place. Urko now going to be on his tail, trying to close that gap down a little bit if he can possibly do so. It's definitely going to take a little bit of time, and I can't even imagine what these drivers are dealing with as far as the track conditions at the moment, with it being kind of trickling. You can see it happening on the screen right now, just a little bit of rain coming down. And there it is, Joe Albany's the 0-2, Long Island Nerd, getting a little bit loose, coming through turn 1, able to save it, able to keep the car going straight. But that is the exact kind of issue that these drivers, excuse me, are going to be facing throughout this race here. And I can only imagine that it's going to create some very interesting battles throughout this race. Here we go. Dutch to the inside, moves his way on through as Sneezy Jr. gets into the sand, into the gravel, and he's going to be losing a couple positions down into 17th, but still up a couple from where he started here today. Remote Crawdad and James McKinney, I think, oh, a little, that might have been a tap to the rear end to 976. Or Biker Pilot, excuse me, the 42 machine. That's going to cost him. I'm not sure exactly if that was a punt. I didn't quite catch it with my own 2 eyes. Could have been a punt, could have been a lockup, could have been both. Who knows? Well, I guess we could know if we decided to go back and look at the replays, but there, folks, there's a lot. There's a lot right now. Brandon Crutchin down through the inside of David. Easy. I feel so bad as Brandon, the 737, makes me feel not as bad as he finds himself in the wrong direction through the chicane of 1 and 2. And, well, you know, in wet weather, actually, you know what, folks, while we have a moment here, I want to ride on board here with Squilliam. Squilliam, I know, is a fantastic and a solid driver, so let's take a moment to just see what he does, see how he tackles a lap here at Barcelona when things are just looking not great. Let's find out. Well, there goes Dutch. Didn't take him long. Let's keep riding on board here with Squilliam and see how he tackles it. So there we get a really, really good look at what these drivers are kind of dealing with on the track. And to me, to my eyes, they are it seems they are taking the course with a much more reserved approach. And that's naturally how you would be tackling a wet course. It's not something that you're just going to dive into and try taking away your fastest lap on. It's not going to happen. If, in fact, it might end up much worse than that. So, what these drivers are doing are simply really just trying to get the best lap that they can, and the best lap that has been put down by any driver here has been by Eat My Dust, the number 24 driver who we're currently tagged along with at the moment. A 150.72 is the current fastest lap set by yours truly in DC. Wait, DC's in the front. How did that happen? So somewhere in the process, DC managed to work his way up into first position here, and setting a 150.75 as his fastest lap. And so Nodovan here is actually losing time. Okay, so that's probably where things kind of got the better of him. We probably weren't paying attention to the front too well here. That is my bad. I will take responsibility for that. But with that being said, we can see just, Nodovan having a very good qualifying and being able to put himself at the front. This, staying consistent with that time is crucial. Being consistent and being fast are two very, very different things in terms of racing. And I feel like a lot of people kind of get those two mixed up a little bit from time to time. They think that being fast makes you just overall good as a race car driver, but it's not so much the truth. Whereas being consistent is what helps you be successful in racing. Being fast and consistent, that's definitely great, but not everyone is capable of achieving that level of fast and consistent. It's a very, very fine line. Dutch, Sneezy, ooh, Dutch. Number 19 Machine trying to follow behind Sneezy Jr., the number 29, just up ahead of him. Oops. Here in the white and black. Just up ahead. And yeah, you can see just how some of these cars are getting a little loose behind them. And I do want to say that all of these drivers should be running wet tires. I would hope so. Can probably check though. Yes, they're all running wets, as they should. So as the field is getting a little spread out, we're just over the halfway mark here in the first portion of today's race. DC finding himself with Eat My Dust starting to close in. At just under a second for a moment, now gaining some momentum here. We'll see if that continues as he progresses on with less than 9 minutes left to go throughout this race, but he's definitely got a lot stacked up against him, and he's definitely going to have quite a bit of race left. Ooh, there, yeah, just going into turn one, you can see just how much these cars really, really don't enjoy the slick, wet surface that they're on it right now. Cat Daddy. Oh, I love the paint scheme on it too, and it hurts me to see him out there in the gravel, but it happens to the best of us. So with about 6.5 minutes left to go, Joe Albany's Long Island Nerd. Oh. Was having a little bit of a battle here with Brandon Crutchin, but it seems like Joe had a little bit of an issue here. Might have did a little too much there, having to bring the car down into pit road, get things figured out, realigned, and get back out there on track. And for the time being, with about 6 minutes left to go, most of the drivers on the track. We can take a look by position here. You can see that this field is pretty well spread out. And so while the field is a little bit spread out, we can talk a little bit about some of the things that have happened both last race as well as last season. So last season we saw Nick Beaver coming away with a majority of the wins for the Sprint Series. In fact, he came away with 5 out of the 8 wins, the 8 races, I should say, for last season. That is absolutely astounding. And I do believe that Nick Beaver actually, if I'm not mistaken, I do believe he actually retired from the J2I series after that season. I can't recall why at this moment, but Nick Beaver, definitely a very, very talented driver, and I will forever commend him for his abilities as a sim racer. He definitely brought a great challenge to J2I, and I hope wherever he's at currently that he's doing well. But here in this season, things are a little bit different, where we have a very mixed bag of drivers as far as skills go, and I think it makes for some very good competition. Last week we saw Stephen Lakota come away with the win for the Nürburgring Grand Prix for the race number 1 of the Sprint Series. In second place we had Urko, as well as, trying to remember everybody's names. I think it was Black Bob Wallace. Either way, point being, this week, obviously with a little bit different setting as far as weather conditions go, drivers have a lot more to handle, a lot more tackle throughout this race. So it's not too surprising to see the difference in the field that we are seeing here today, and it's honestly very interesting to see just how much practice some drivers are putting into wet weather racing versus others, because this is something that obviously not everyone is going to be used to or accustomed to. A lot of drivers in iRacing, they typically, well, at least for the last few years, it has been a very, very, well, consistent environment as far as weather is concerned. You had heat, you had wind, but that was about it. Humidity, I guess you could say, but realistically speaking, that's not a whole lot to work with. So now that we have actual true wet weather conditions, that definitely throws a wrench in the gears for some drivers. And Eat My Dust, having worked his way up into first place, now looking at coming away with a win here. In the heat portion of our sprint race here today. As he works his way through the final few turns, and I gotta say, you know, I think with a lot of drivers having to combat this track, they kind of, I think some of them might have utilized this sprint as a way to really get comfortable being on the track and being able to stay fast, stay consistent, and trying to push themselves. As, oh man, who was that? It looks like that was Joel Albanese, the O2 machine. It was, as he's just mowing the grass. That's all he's doing, folks. He's not off track. He's part of the lawn crew. He's part of the maintenance crew. He's just doing his job. But Eat My Dust going to come away with the win here for the heat portion of our sprint race here today. As we await for the rest of our field to make their way across the checkered line and get themselves ready to go for the second portion of our race here today. And so it looks like our field has completed their... Yes, there it is. Oops. So here are our post-race results for our heat race here today. Our race number 1, Eat My Dust coming away with the win, Urko in second, and Nodovan coming away in third here today. Now that we have a little bit of time, let's go ahead and go through some post-race interviews here while we have just a little bit of time to talk to some of our drivers. The first one that we're going to have up in the booth is going to be Nodovan, our third place driver. Nodovan, welcome to the booth. Congratulations on your podium finish here for our heat of today's race. You had a very, very good qualifying lap, obviously coming away with the pole position, having about 0.2 of a second separating yourself, and I believe it was Urko that came away in second, coming off the line. What kind of happened throughout the laps that kind of set you back? Was it just the conditions of the track that you weren't necessarily used to, or was it just certain parts of the track that were giving you troubles? What kind of set you back here a little bit?
Well, I think it's just kind of a mix of everything. I think I qualified a little higher than I should have. I suspect that everyone was kind of having a hard time setting a lap. They were spinning, and I was kind of the only one who got like 5 laps. And then on that 5th lap, you're just so much faster than you were the lap before. And then just in the race, everyone kind of had no choice but to kind of keep it clean. And then they kind of drove off from me. But I don't know, just kind of a mistake there, a mistake here, and not really wanting to complete the push either. It's because if you go over the limit, you're gonna go off track.
100%. And I honestly, I think you did a fantastic job despite the challenges that you faced. And a lot of drivers here behind you, there was definitely a handful of drivers who found themselves off in the ditch. Well, not necessarily the ditch, but off in the sand, off in the grass, whatever the case might be, just trying to navigate some of these turns that may have a little bit more water present on them than the rest of them. Some parts of the track might be drier, and something that this is the first time that I've had the chance to broadcast a wet race, so I'm having fun. But Nodovan, I don't want to take up too much more of your time. I hope to get to talk to you here again at the end of the race. Good luck out there, and, well, break a leg. Not literally, but you know what I mean. You have a good one. All right, so Nodovan coming out of the booth here with the 3rd place position. Let's run through Urko real quick and give a quick little interview. Urko, we got about 30 seconds here. Urko, what was kind of the challenges that you faced here in the heat portion of our race here today?
To keep it quick, no practice, cold tires are scary, and I was just hoping for the best. So
living life on the edge, living life like Larry. I love to hear it, Urko. I don't want to take up too much more time here, but I hope to get to talk to you again before the night is over. Keep doing what you're doing out there. Things are looking good, and hopefully we get to keep talking again towards the end of the race here tonight, huh?
Yeah, I'll try to keep it together. It's going to be full rain probably, so it's going to be scary. And,
it's not drying up. It's definitely not clearing up. So
yeah, we'll just cross my fingers, I guess. I don't know.
Well, don't do what Lando Norris did in Spa in like what was it, 2019, 2020 or whatever. Yeah. Anyway, have fun.
All right, brother. Be good.
Yeah, have a good one. Alrighty, folks, that was Urko. Let's give a quick interview here with Eat My Dust, aka Lucas. Welcome to the booth. We've only got a few seconds to work with. Eat My Dust, what kind of worked in your favor here going into the end that managed to work your way up into first and taking home the W for the heat portion of today's race?
Well, thanks for having me up here, Mason. I just want to shout out my wife and dad watching on the stream, I think, for hanging out and letting me do this. But as far as getting up into the front, I had the pace, got a little held up in qualifying, so started a little lower, but was able to jump Erko at the start, and was able to put enough pressure on DC, I think, to help force him into an error. And then Nodovan up ahead, I think, also had an unforced error. Allowed me to take the lead and hold on to it.
Well, I'm not gonna lie. I feel a little bad because I thought we only had 5 minutes for a warm up here, and we obviously have a little bit more than that. So I'm gonna ask you another question here.
Okay.
So this is my first broadcast in a wet weather race, and I'm enjoying seeing what I'm seeing so far. Kind of walk me through what you as a driver have kind of had to learn or accommodate to, given the new, I guess, model that you have to now drive in. Like, give me a quick rundown of what it's like from someone who's never had the pleasure of driving it yet.
So they've done a really good job of modeling where puddles form on the track. And typically you'll notice on your broadcast, I'm sure you've got high enough resolution and settings turned on, that you can see that generally on the insides of the curbs, and then definitely where the cars aren't even running to suck up some of that moisture, it looks a little shinier on track. You can see that in sim as well while you're trying to drive. So there are some corners like that last chicane that you absolutely just have to take the normal racing line through. But anything that you can get away with and get off of the normal racing line for braking, for turn in, for like when you're trying to carry any kind of real mechanical grip speed through something, it really helps to be offline and away from those shiny puddles.
Well, duly noted. Yeah, you know, as you were mentioning those puddles too, my camera actually happened to pan to one of those puddles and show a perfect example of it. So, yeah, I mean, I think iRacing has done a pretty darn good job of modeling it and making it an actual challenge versus just a visual kind of effect. But I don't want to take up too much more of your time here. What's kind of your expectations here going into 40 more minutes of this? The rain isn't it isn't letting up. What do you think is going to be the ultimate goal here throughout this race? I think you guys have to change tires. It's been a minute. Correct me if I'm wrong, but it's going to be a doozy.
We're not going to change tires.
Okay.
We are going to have to stop for fuel.
That's what it was. I knew you had to stop for something. I couldn't remember what it was.
Yep, yeah, we are going to stop for fuel. Anybody that changes tires is immediately just going to lose dozens of seconds trying to reheat their tires up.
That's a fair statement.
It looks like the rain might ease off near the end of this upcoming feature race, but it is going to start harder than we're currently in. So.
Be careful is the name of the game.
Yeah. Winning the sprint means I'm going to start 8th. I'm going to be in the pack. Hopefully I get another decent start and can pass a couple people going into turn 1. But it's really just going to be trying to stay safe and staying on track for the first several laps at least.
Well, I'm looking forward to this opening lap. I think it's going to be really interesting to see how everyone tackles it going into turn 1. Not even turn 1, but just the entire first couple laps in general. But Lucas, good luck to you out there, man. I hope to get to talk to you again before the night's over, but looks like you got a lot on your hands here, and I'm gonna let you get to it.
Thanks, Mason. Hope
You're
to talk
welcome.
to you again.
You're welcome. You have a good one.
You too.
Alrighty, folks, that was Eat My Dust coming out of the booth and gonna get himself a little bit more prepared for what's about to come in just about 30 seconds before we kick things off here for the last and final time. It's going to be a 40-minute feature event. If I recall correctly, it is I want to say it's the top 10, maybe the top 8 inverted. We'll find out for certain once we get things moving here. It might actually be the top 10. We'll find out. But with that being said, folks, I mean, it has been a great race so far, and with it being the condition that it is right now out on track, I'm surprised that we're still even racing. You know, the rain isn't letting up right now. It's not super heavy, but it is enough that things are going to be difficult out on track. Drivers are going to have to be very cautious and very, very careful of how they approach this feature event here. It's not going to be one for the faint of heart, to say the least. So let's take a look into our starting grid for today's race. I was correct. It is the top 8 that are inverted. So starting up in the front row is Squilliam and Black Bob Wallace. Second row is Joshua Spears and Prince Adam. Third row, DC and Nodovan. Fourth row is Urko and Eat My Dust. Fifth row is Gavin Ammerman and Bozak. Sixth row, David Aizi and Biker Pilot. David, we're gonna have a talk. Moving on down the grid here, we have Dutch and Sneezy Jr., Cat Daddy and Ryan Schwab in the eighth Oh boy, we're gonna get going here. Brandon Crutchin, Joe Albanese, 976. Remote Crawdad, Joshua Spears, and we're rolling away and off to racing we go for our feature events. William doing a fantastic. Look at that spray. Holy cow. 3 wide into turn 1. Eat My Dust, Prince Adam, DC. Oh boy, DC right squeezed in the middle of all of that. Prince Adam managing to get away from it. Black Bob Wallace, Eat My Dust now going to be side by side as the rest of the field tries to work their way through it. Looks to be Dutch is going to find himself a little bit off track here, but no harm, no foul as the rest of the field continues to work their way through this track and trying to navigate all of this spray. Let's take a roll on board here with one of our drivers just to get a good look at what this might look like from a driver's perspective. And let's maybe even get a little bit more personal here for just a second on the helmet camera of Black Bob Wallace. Whoa, there goes Prince Adam, Eat My Dust, both of them into the wall. Both of them. What in the world happened? We're going to take a quick second here and just take a look at what happened between Eat My Dust and Prince Adam. Oh, they collected wheels, and there go a hard hit to the 24 machine of Eat My Dust. That is going to end his race there today. And there is a couple more cars already. Looks to be Bozak, as well as, I think that might be DC. It is. So again, with this rain, there's not many dry spots left on the track at this moment. It is a very, very dangerous condition out there. And these drivers are having to do everything in their power to keep things calm as much as they can. Let's take one more ride on board here. Maybe with Prince Adam. Here as we come down the straightaway, Ryan Schwab, Brandon Crutchin. To his left and right, Brandon Crutchin to his left, the 737, screaming down the front straight. Heading into turn 1, he's going to have the spot open for the inside to move into turn 1. But, folks, I got to tell you, I mean, this is a very, very unsafe track to be on at the moment. Donovan off track. Black Bob Wallace also going to find himself off track here. Try and look from above, from the blimp cameras, you can just see the haze from the rain, as well as the spray coming up from the tires of these cars. Not a terrific angle to look at for long term, but to give you a general idea of how rough the conditions are out there on track at the moment. Bozak not in a great spot here, trying to get the car restarted, able to do so. Now he's in a horrible position. Oh, Bozak, buddy. We'll let him figure that out. Got some pieces of car missing there on the track here as well. It looks like that might be from Bozak's 906 machine. .976 Ryan Schwab down the front straightaway. 976 to the inside of the purple and pink machine, but Ryan, oh, no, that, wait. Oh, Ryan Schwab has the key. Really? 9? I'm talking you up like that, and you just spin it into turn 1? Come on. I'm just teasing you. Is not having a great time on track at the moment, trying to find the pace. And you know what? I can't even really blame him, because if we look on the nose of this car right now, and we can really take a good look at where you can see the puddling, the puddles forming on the sides of the track, and this gives you a really good idea of where all of that water truly is. And it also, there's not really a dry line to be had at the moment. There's hardly a dry line. I don't even think you could call it a dry line. So again, a lot of these drivers just trying to do the best that they can. And folks, we're only 7 minutes into this race, and it's tougher than it looks. I cannot express that enough. Prince Adam managing to get the jump on Biker Pilot in the front straight. Definitely trying to push things here as best as he can, and he's still got quite a bit ahead of him. Oh, DC though. See, these are the kind of mistakes that other drivers are going to want to capitalize on, and I'm not picking on DC here specifically. This is something that can happen to anybody. Who I'm surprised it hasn't happened to yet is Squilliam, who's in the lead. This man, as well as Gavin Ammer, okay, I can't exclude Gavin in this conversation because he needs to be included in it, but Squilliam and Gavin, neither one of these guys have gone off track a single time in the 8 minutes since this race has started. Now, in the grand scope of things, that might not seem impressive to some people, depending on what sort of racing you're used to or what sort of skill level you're used to seeing on the track. However, in the scope of sim racing and where we're at right now, that is something to definitely take note of, because in these conditions, with these cars on this track, it is very easy to go off track, and these guys have not done so yet. So they definitely have got something figured out, and they're making it work. Steezy Jr. and Brandon Crutchin. A little bit of a battle there. Heading into turn 1, we kind of caught the end of it there for a second, excuse me. It's Adam finding himself off track for a moment here. And Prince Adam, I gotta say, not having his best moment here in the feature event, as well as Eat My Dust. Prince Adam down 6 positions from second place where he started. And or excuse me, 4th place where he started, and Eat My Dust in 16th from where he started in 8th place. So these guys kind of finding the short end of the stick as far as this race is concerned, but there's still a lot of race left and still a lot of opportunities where other drivers can make mistakes, as well as for the track to sort of dry up a little bit and give them a little bit more chance to start pushing a little bit more and capitalizing on where some of these drivers might not be as fast on a dry track, but are able to keep pace on a, well, not so dry track somehow. Side by side, Prince Adam Biker Pilot down the front straight. I'm gonna make his way up ahead. Biker Pilot gonna look down to the inside here, maybe try and make a pass to the inside through turn 1 if he can make it happen. It's gonna be a doozy though. Not enough room to make it happen this time around, but the attempt was definitely there. So about 14 minutes into the race here, and Biker Pilot Sneezy Jr. having one of the closest battles out on track at the moment. Sneezy is looking to the inside there, not going to quite make it happen this time around, but putting the pressure here on Biker Pilot, the number 42 orange machine here. Urko and Dutch. Oh, looks like Dutch might have had a little bit of a slip up there. Urko gonna make his pass on by. Brendan Crutchen finds himself out in the gravel. just a moment, gonna bring himself back onto the track, safe and sound. We'll say, for how bad the weather is right now, excuse me, we've only had 2 retirements from the race thus far. And actually, excuse me, it might not even be 2, it might just be 1. I think Joe Albany's retired from the excuse me, retired after the first lap. I don't think Spears even started, but nonetheless, everyone is... Oh, gosh, buddy. Everyone has managed to stay out thus far. Gavin Ammerman finding himself in a little bit of a pickle, and it's I think that's what's going to make this race very interesting for a lot of drivers, is that there is just going to be so many different little issues that happen for everybody that you can't really account for. It's wet. The track is not very good, and drivers are going to make mistakes in places where they might be confident in going, 2 laps ago, they might have been fine taking, here, perfect example, Squilliam taking, what seems to be a very, very safe, reasonable line. He's starting to get loose in, and that could have just been, he was just applying a little bit too much throttle going into it, and that's definitely very possible, but that's kind of my point, is that some of these drivers could be, taking a line that they're confident with, and it's just, it might have gotten a little bit more saturated with rain than it did a lap or 2 ago, because like I said, it's like I mentioned at the beginning of this race, it's still raining, and there's not a lot of drivers out on the track right now to kind of dissipate that moisture and create a dry line. There's actually 17 drivers out on track at this moment. Formula One has 20, and typically speaking, those cars are running significantly faster than what these cars are running at the moment. These are Super Formula Lights. Now, the top speed that we have seen in this race is 135. That's, 135 is definitely still very fast, especially in wet weather conditions, as well as on in a, I guess, what I'm trying to say is, these aren't the fastest cars in the world. They're not going to exactly make the difference on the track as far as creating dry lines, as opposed to some of your higher horsepower, faster counterparts. Not saying, your Formula One, this could go as far as, going into the endurance world of hypercars. Excuse me. I was trying to figure out what the name of them was. It's been a minute. So, with that being said, these drivers really, what in the world is that number? What is that number? Can anyone chat? And this is the only time I'm ever going to say that. Chat, can you explain to me on the right hand side of your screen, the 6th row down, why? Why is it like that? Because I don't know. $3,410,380. Okay. Alright. We're just gonna turn that off. Moving on. We've got some drivers starting to make their way down into pit road after the 20-minute mark has been surpassed. Prince Adam being one of those drivers, the 777 machine. Gotta take his way down into pit road and request a little bit of fuel. Thank you, Sector. That is the exact answer that I was looking for. See, I knew it was atmospheric pressure, but I was trying to comprehend what it was doing with that many digits. You don't need that many digits. So folks, while things are relatively quiet out on track at the moment, let's take a little bit of ambiance, and we're gonna ride on board here with Squilliam for just a little bit. Just enjoy some sights and sounds here at Barcelona while the action is calm and quiet. Let's just enjoy a little bit of driving action. Hope everybody is enjoying the action at home. I personally hope everyone is enjoying just how everything kind of looks today. I'm personally just kind of amazed with how well iRacing implemented rain on the track, at least. Visually, the rain dripping down in front of the screen, that's a little corny, I'm not gonna lie. The spray looks good behind the cars. The puddling around the track looks phenomenal. The reflections well, I don't even know if there is reflections. I haven't necessarily looked. I guess there is a little bit. But needless to say, things are looking quite good. I guess there is a little bit of reflections. I don't know if it's ray trace, but it does look good. So a little bit of traffic here that Squilliam is going to have to maneuver around, and a couple drivers now starting to find themselves closing in on one another. As we're approaching the 10-minute mark on this race here as well, as during the interviews that we had with Urko, Nadavin, and who was the last one? Eat My Dust. There we go. They were expecting that the rain could possibly let up here. Now, this is something that I cannot confirm nor deny, as here in the broadcast booth, I do not have a radar for the race here today, so I don't have any way of knowing what the actual conditions above the track currently look like and what they might pose for the remainder of the race. So we're just kind of going out on a whim here, and as we have Sneezy Jr., you could hear it. At least I think you could. I don't know if that was a lockup or what, but he was definitely not having a good time. Donovan, though, finding himself up into the third place position, but he's going to have to come down into pit road. I'm going to have to assume here before too long, given that he has not come down into pit road yet to gather fuel. These drivers are expected to come down into pit road at least once to get fuel for this race, so he might be getting fairly close to that mark, as we have DC Nadavin side by side. DC to the inside. He's going to take a very, very fast approach into turn one, making it very smooth. Nadavin might not have... He might have been a little bit more cautious going into that turn, and also might not be as worried about fighting for that position at this moment. There's still a little bit over 10 minutes left in the race. Still a little bit more strategy left to be had, and given the circumstances of the race at this moment, you know, anything, literally anything can happen. And when I mention that, Gavin Amarit, the number 58 driver, started in 7th place. Or excuse me, started in 9th place. He's up 7 positions in 2nd at the moment, and you know, I don't want to put it purely just towards the conditions of the track and people going off track and things of that nature, but it is a testament to Gavin's skill to be able to stay out and stay consistent in these conditions to hold this second place position at this moment. So, you know, you really have to kind of analyze what these drivers are doing at this moment in the race, especially the top 6. Squilliam actually will make this even easier for you folks at home. So left side of your screen, you can see how many pit stops drivers have taken and where they're currently at, you know, where they're at position wise currently. You know, some of these guys have taken pit stops already. I can do you one better actually. So left side of your screen still, you can see the number of stops and as well as the lap that the stop was taken. So it gives you a little bit of information as far as what these drivers are doing strategy wise. Again, these guys do they will have to make a pit stop at some point. That pit stop is so the anticipated pit window is about 15 to 25 minutes, but that's on a dry track. Given that we're on a very wet track, I would say, man, could they take it all the way to the end? I don't know, because of the fact that this track has not been dry for a single minute throughout this entire race. I mean, I almost want to say that some of these guys might have been able to conserve fuel enough to forego even considering a pit stop. Let's, man, how could we? I wish there was a way we could analyze this. There's not really a way that we can do that with our software currently, but we're gonna go on a whim here, folks. Okay. This is a very unique situation for these drivers where, well, DC's coming in right now. So am I wrong? Is DC's in? Man, this is... So with DC coming in, these drivers putting lap times of about 2 minutes per lap. We're hitting 34 minutes, so it'd be about 3 laps to the... Okay, Squilliam's coming in. So they literally were saving it to the very, very end. I was wondering if anyone was going to be able to do it, because it was pushing it. So these drivers have really created a very interesting situation for themselves, and it's not necessarily that they wanted to, it's just kind of how it played out, to be fair. But Squilliam having, I mean, Squilliam, he kind of just played his cards perfectly. Here comes Gavin Ammerman into pit road. He's going to come down and going to potentially lose a position here, unless Bob Wallace also does the same. Bob, he's come down into pit road as well. I think Squilliam just did it. I think he just did it. DC and Urko, they had the right idea. They definitely had the right idea. I think Squilliam might have just... I think he had half a mind to say, you know what? I'm going to do one more lap and then go in. And that little... And he probably only had just enough fuel to do it too. We'll find out for sure. Whoa, biker. Squilliam pulled in on 0 fuel. Okay, so I was right. Squilliam literally said, okay, I'm gonna do one more lap. And he had literally just enough fuel. That is insane. Squilliam's fucking... You didn't hear that. Squilliam is insane. Not even coming down into pit road. Less than a minute and a half before we see the checkered flag. Donovan, Urko, Prince Adam, Bozak, Sneezy Jr., just to name a few that are looking to secure a good finish here today. Sneezy Jr., Biker Pilot. Looked like they were having a battle in timing and scoring. Biker Pilot just coming down into pit road to gather what I assume to be his final bit of fuel. As I mentioned with Squilliam, he came down into pit road with literally just enough fuel. Just enough fuel to just make it into his pit box. That's it. If he would have gone any further, he would have stalled. Amazing work from Squilliam. Whether call that luck, call that strategy, whatever you will, that's just phenomenal work. Prince Adam right on the heel of Bozak. Adam to the outside, going into turn one, gonna try and make something happen here. This is the final lap to do it. Oh, it was Bozak to the outside, excuse me. Prince Adam just behind him. Bozak loses it, Prince Adam goes with him. Well, at least he didn't go alone. However, Bozak is going to lose that rear end, that driver's side rear tire. That's going to be end of race for him. Checkered flag flies, and Squilliam has taken the flag for the win here today. And folks, honestly, it's been a lot of sporadic action here today. There's just been a purely saturated track throughout this race, and no driver has really been able to dominate it in the way that Squilliam has been able to. I mean, Squilliam started the race in first, and that's where he finished. So Squilliam definitely taking some notes from the heat event and applying it here in the feature and making it work. Honestly, a very fantastic race from all of these drivers. You know, it's not an easy race. This is a wet track, is something that I have yet to do myself, something I hope to be able to do here in the immediate future, but until then I just get to watch these guys do it. So with that being said, folks, let's take a look at our post-race results and get into some of our post-race reviews here, or post-race interviews, as I should say. Just give me one. So the first driver that we are going to bring up in the booth here today is going to be our third place driver, DC. DC coming away with that third place position. Welcome to the booth. Sorry I dragged you out of your home spot there, but it was, man, it's a tough track out there. There was not a moment of time out there where there was truly a dry line to really take, and there was just a lot of things that could go wrong, did go wrong for some drivers. I mean, what kind of helped you stay consistent out there and just keep pushing and not let some of the mistakes that affected others affect you?
I mean, I still made some mistakes out there. It was real tough. It was slick out there. It was trying to find the right line. Like the line I was using in the first race was totally different than the second race. It kind of was like a little bit awkward, the lines I was taking, but it seemed faster. I was catching people. So I just kind of continued doing my own thing and just trying to keep it very steady on the throttle and brake as much as I could. And, you know, a little bit too much throttle and I was just spun it or got off track a couple of times, but tried to really dial it back a little bit.
And how much do you think the wet weather tires kind of helped you? I mean, I know for me, this is kind of a new thing in iRacing. I only recently came back to this being something that was added. What do you think the impact the wet weather tires have on this sort of track? I mean, like we saw, this has been a purely wet track. There wasn't a moment where the sun came out. Like, how impactful do you think these tires were, and do you think they can be improved? Do you think that they are something that is not really truly accurate? What's kind of your opinion on them?
I think they're great. Like when you're looking at the track and you're seeing puddles and stuff, if you avoid those, you get a little bit more grip. But if you touch them, you're gonna probably aquaplane or lose your grip for a second and then re-get grip and kind of spin it or something like that. But it's all about trying to find that line. I think iRacing did a good job of getting the wet weather kind of correct and having different types of, like, there's different parts of the track where I'm being a lot more feathering with the throttle and the brake, where some other places I was being a little bit more aggressive. So it's like nice to try and find where the line is, where the grip is, and like it was really fun, I think.
I love to hear it, man. This is it was a really fun race to watch. It's fun to watch you guys out there try and handle this really, really interesting situation as far as weather conditions are concerned. And frankly, it makes me want to bust my wheel out and get out on track myself and see what it's really like for my own hands and eyes. But DC, you had a fantastic race out here tonight, not only for the feature event, but also for the sprint race. What's kind of your outlook here going into race number 3? Give me just a momentary second to figure out what our next race is. It is Montreal. So we head to Canada in a couple weeks. What's your game plan for week 3?
Well, hopefully there's no rain. I'd like to do a dry track at least, one of these couple of weeks. But I love Montreal. It's a great track for these cars in specific as well, especially high downforce cars in general. So I'm happy it's Montreal. I love that track a lot.
Well, I'm looking forward to seeing it. Hopefully we are blessed with a dry track, much like you said. I think you guys deserve it after this week. This was a rough one. But DC, anyone you want to give a shout out to or thank before you head out tonight?
Shout out to Team Bong Life. We got some good points today, I think. So gonna look out for where we are in the championships now.
Absolutely. Well, DC, thank you for taking the time to join me up here in the booth, and I look forward to seeing you next in the next couple weeks, and hopefully get to talk to you more again in the future.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome. You have a good one. That was DC out of the booth, coming away with your 3rd place spot here tonight. Up next in the booth is going to be Mr. Gavin Ammerman. Gavin, how do you say your last name? Ammerman or Ammerman?
Ammerman. Like
Ammerman. Okay, so I had it right then. Perfect. All right, good. Gavin, it was a doozy. I mean, there was no part of this race that was easy, and you started 9th. What was it kind of like, starting in the mid-pack, having a already wet race to start with, and then there was no part of this race that ever went dry? I mean, what was kind of going through your mind?
Patience. I mean, I knew some of the guys were going to struggle up front, so I just kind of bided my time and let them do their thing. And then once they had their issues, and just stuck in the groove and kept doing my thing.
Well, and you did a fantastic job of it too. And going in let me ask you this, because this is my first season back with J2I, and one season. Is this your first season with J2I, or were you here for last season?
Oh, this is my first season doing both sprint and the endurance cars.
Love it. I love it. So what's your grand goal here coming into J2I? What would be the one thing that you would like to accomplish here?
Man, I don't know, just I guess keep it on the track all the time, try and stay consistent and be somewhat competitive, at least in the mid-pack or something. Done a lot of F1 driving, so the single-seater open wheel stuff works pretty well for me, but the endurance stuff I'm still trying to pick up on a little bit. Not to mention I've only been in iRacing for maybe 2 months, so still trying to get my feet wet, and if I can be successful and finish higher up, that's cool. If not, then I'm not stressing it too much. I'm just here to have some fun and try to race some some faster guys.
Well, I'm gonna tell you right now. Some folks hearing you say that you just started iRacing 2 months ago, and you coming away with a second place spot in a wet race in Super Formula Lights. Yeah, you're gonna make some people mad with that. In a good way, in a good way. But Gavin, you did phenomenal here. I think you have a very, very good career coming into the J2Y family. These guys are a great bunch of drivers, a lot of great talent here, and a lot of just a good group of great guys that are willing to help each other and put on some good racing. And I think you found a great place to kind of hone your skills and ultimately come away with some wins potentially and really kind of test your skills. And I think tonight was a very, very great example of what you could accomplish here, because coming away with second in a 40-minute sprint that consists of a entirely wet track, I mean, dude, you've got something going for you. So with that being said, is there anyone watching the broadcast, anyone watching at home that you want to give a shout out to before we send you off tonight?
I don't know if Brock's still watching. What up, Brock? You should get back in the sprint cars with us, but if not, we'll see you next week in the GTE cars. But nope, other than that, I mean, I appreciate the kind words. I mean, definitely excited and hope to be competitive some more with these guys. Definitely a good bunch here.
Keep up the good work, man. Keep doing what you're doing. You're on the right track, and I hope to get to see more of you out there, and I definitely hope to get to have you more up here in the booth. But with that being said, Gavin, you have yourself a great night. Enjoy celebrating. I'll see you next time.
Thanks, sir.
Alrighty, Gavin. Alrighty, folks. That was Gavin out of the booth coming away with second place. And last and certainly not going to be least here, the man of the hour, and giving his fellow drivers a farewell before I dragged him into the booth. Squilliam coming away with the win here tonight. Squilliam, it's been a long time since I've had the pleasure of hearing your voice and talking to you. Welcome back. Welcome to the booth.
Well, welcome back to you, man. It's great to hear your voice again, and it's good to be talking to you for sure. So
thank you. Well, dude, congratulations on your win. I mean, this is the first race that I've been able to kind of see wet weather conditions in their fullest extent. I'm sure people watching this, they're probably tired of me talking about this, but I'm blown away by how well iRacing actually did this. I mean, it was a lot of just tricky situations out there. The track conditions were constantly changing. The weather did not change. It was just constantly pouring. I mean, what kind of helps you prepare for races like this? Like, what do you do as a driver? I mean, obviously, sim racing, you can just pop in a session that has rain on constantly and just turn laps. But what did you do personally that you think helped prepare you for this race, if anything at all?
yeah, I mean, it's the first thing is obviously just riding a lot of laps and stuff like that. So I've been putting a lot of practice into the car just in general, because it's a car I really enjoy, and I want to do well this season, because I've had a couple seasons where I felt like I've been up there, but I've missed a bunch of races due to life, and I've got a good opportunity to do well. But you know, it's just a lot about the rain can be so different depending on how heavy it is, and like we saw in the first race, it was actually really, the track was really drying out because the rain stopped and everything, whereas here it was just really soaked. And it's similar, but it's also very different between those two conditions. So it's just trying to put yourself into practice sessions that get you into all of the elements, get you in some transition and stuff like that. It's a lot more to practice for sure than just like a normal dry session, because like I said, the different lines that can form because of cars moving the water away, and just rain stopping and coming back and stuff. Just the track is constantly changing, so you have to learn how to adapt to that.
Yeah, you know, and I think you really did an exemplary job of kind of showing other drivers how that was done, because we had, you know, heat race, for example, we had, oh gosh, who was it now? Nodovan. Nodovan coming away with the pole position, and he was even surprised by it after I talked to him after the event, and he was like, I don't think I should have qualified where I did, but he was 2/10 faster than Urko in the second place spot, and it was just, to me, just witnessing that, it was very, very jarring, I guess you could say, to witness the difference in pace between each driver. I mean, we're seeing drivers that are normally mid-pack, you know, maybe a little further back, that are further up in front, because we see drivers that are not used to these conditions, and they're able to adapt a little bit better, maybe a little bit worse, so on and so forth. So needless to say, it was just a very interesting experience to see how everyone adapted. Now, going into 2 weeks from now, heading to Montreal, hoping the weather is a little bit better, what's kind of your expectations from the field going into there? And I know for yourself, you probably are going to do pretty well, but what do you think the rest of the field is going to do?
Yeah, it seems like from the test race that we did at Hockenheim, the car races really, really close in the dry. The draft is like insanely powerful. It feels like you're driving an F3 car in terms of pace with F4 slipstream. So it definitely promotes really, really close racing, which is cool to see. And I think that I feel like the top probably like 15 people were all within like half a second or something insane like that. It was some crazy number when I looked back at it. But so it's all just going to be about just trying to break the draft and stuff like that. But I expect some much closer racing in the dry than in the wet. The wet certainly spreads people out a lot quicker. So certainly, especially like Montreal on that back straight before the chicane, there's going to be big draft battles there for people that can stick together with each other. So.
Well, Squilliam, I am very impressed by what you did here tonight. I am impressed by what the entire field did, despite all the trials and tribulations that some drivers may have faced here tonight. You guys all did fantastic, especially yourself. Before I let you go, anyone you want to give a shout out to or thank before we head out?
Yeah, I want to give a shout out to TGS once again for coming and hanging out with us, and to you, man. It's great to see you back and recovered and stuff like that. So it's really awesome to have you back in the booth and cheering us on once again. So shout out to you guys for coming together for us one more season, and I'm super excited to see what the rest of the season holds. Well,
Squilliam, I hope it makes you happy that because of this race, you were the first time that ever said a curse word on broadcast. So you're gonna have to go back and watch it to find it, because it was a gnarly curse word, but it was for a good reason. So
believe me, man, I always watch them back. I will be looking out for that, and I feel truly honored to be the cause of that. So
it was more towards the end, so you don't have to. You can skim through it if you want, but just so you know, out of my roughly 2 or 3 years of broadcasting, you were the first person that's ever made me say a curse word. So.
Well, I'm truly honored.
Well, Squilliam, thank you for your time. I look forward to, I'm assuming you're going to be next week in the endurance series, so I'll look forward to seeing you there, but if not,
I sure will.
I'll see you next time, buddy. You have a great one.
You as well, man.
Thank you. You have a good one. Alrighty, folks, that was Squilliam coming out of the booth here with the win tonight. And that is going to wrap up our coverage here of the J2I Sprint Series here on the Team Goon Squad Network. My name is Mason Heimbaugh, bringing you the action here tonight. Folks, I hope you all enjoyed the action. If you did, hit the like button. Don't forget to subscribe. Catch all the action that we have here on Team Goon Squad throughout the week. And folks, I will catch you all same time, same place next week as we gear up for round number 2 of the J2Y Endurance Series as we head to Silverstone. Folks, I'll see you next week. You have a good one.